All right, this is Lunch with Granddad, and we're talking about global warming. Now, this is a very simple subject, is it not, Granddad?
Well, if it were true, it would be simple. But there's no evidence about temperatures. You've got to remember that the thermometer's only been in use for a couple of centuries. That we've got no long-term
But I thought
record.
we had ice cores that we could go and check what the temperature were at certain ages in the past. Isn't that ice cores that give us temperature?
They can do, but then they don't tell you from where the ice came, whether it came from the tropics or from colder parts of the world. We've got no idea where it came from. So we can't say that the whole world cooled or warmed or whatever. We've got no evidence of that at all. But apart from that, uh, global warming, how does it happen? Well, all of our energy, except tidal energy and a little bit of geothermal energy, which comes out of the guts of the planet, comes from the sun's radiation hitting us. Now, it comes in a full spectrum, from infrared right up to ultraviolet. The ultraviolet tends to be filtered out by the higher gases of the air, and it's filtered out by a process where atoms absorb energy, radiant energy, and become energetic, and they can't hold it, so they flip back, and that's what happens. Now, the point is, if the energy is coming in this way, and there's an atom here, it picks up the energy, then it re-radiates it. But it re-radiates it in all directions, so half of it is reflected back, and half of it gets through. So the atmosphere
It's a diffuser and a reflector.
it's a protecting layer from a lot of radiation that comes in from the sun. All right, if it does come in from the sun, it hits the ground, it may turn into thermal heat and heat the atmosphere, it may be used in photosynthesis or whatever. But if that energy is not re-radiated, we'd start to heat up and heat up and heat up and heat up very quickly. But it's always re-radiated back to space. And the real answer to that one is we get a very clear night in the desert. It's hot as hell during the day, the sun goes down, and within half an hour it's freezing. Temperature's right down to freezing, because the heat in the land and the air above it is being radiated straight out to space and disappearing, and you get very cold. Now, what stops that happening is that there's some molecules in the air. If the radiation comes up, they pick it up, expand, can't hold it, so they go release it again, and half of it is reflected back to Earth. And so, particularly on a night which is a little bit hazy, it stays warmer, because the radiation from the Earth, instead of disappearing out to space, gets trapped, and half of it gets re-radiated back. That's what they call the greenhouse effect. Now, the big thing, of course, is that carbon dioxide as a molecule can only react to a very, very small part of the infrared spectrum. Most of it goes past it. It only picks up two small bands of radiation. It's less than 10%. It's probably about 7% of the greenhouse effect is carbon dioxide. Well, what is the greenhouse? What does help protect us? Water vapour. And that's why in the desert, where it's very dry, no water vapour in the air, it goes straight out, and we get cold. The carbon dioxide's still there, but it's not a very big deal. So carbon dioxide is hardly a player in the greenhouse effect. It's certainly no player in climate change. Water vapour is.
Is.
Yeah, and we've got no control over the amount of water vapour in the air.
Is the water vapor proportional in any way to carbon dioxide?
No, they're completely separate. Water vapour is there caused by evaporation, exposure of water areas, like transpiration from plants, cloud formation, and all that sort of thing. So it's a hoax. It's a complete. But I mean, the point is that the science is well known. There's no equivocation about that. The wave bands that carbon dioxide reacts to, they're precise. They know them exactly because they've done experiments to measure them. The wave bands of water vapour are much broader and much bigger. We know them exactly. We also know that cloud, which is water particles, has a tremendous reflective effect. Well, you only need to know when a cloud passes over the sun, it gets cool. The radiation is almost all reflected back out straight away. And when the Earth is at night is radiating out, there's no sun, then if there's a cloud cover over, we stay warmer. In fact, without that water vapour, we'd be in dire straits. We'd be frizzled up during the day and we'd be frozen to death at night. I mean, it's
So the bottom line, people have taken this concept for global warming and they've just...
Oh, I don't know why. Well, yeah, I do know why they've done it. They've done it for monetary and personal gain. These scientists, who are so-called, who are pushing it, and all these politicians, looking after either a political gain or a financial gain. It's the biggest hoax you could ever possibly imagine.